This is the Night Wolf howling at you, and before us stands another Mattel Creations exclusive figure from Masters of the Universe. Cue dramatic box opening music. I'll have to see if I have something that I can be playing over at this moment. And that gives us Sy-Klone from the Origins line of figures. The Heroic Fist-Flinging Tornado. And of course, on his box here, we do see him fighting against the Horde, which is cool. And you can see the Fright Zone behind him. And what's kind of interesting here is they have some kind of siege tower that the Horde troopers are coming out of, which that's really medieval considering how much of the Horde is supposed to be robotic, you know? On the side, we see some damaged Horde trooper with his head blown off. On the other side, we see the little snakehead from the Fright Zone, which was a puppet. And on the back, we get a good look at the Fright Zone snake going after our buddy here, Sy-Klone, with our other friend, Mossman, climbing up with a ghostly version of Hordak in the side. Now, I think the reason why they threw Mossman in here is because he was the only other deluxe figure so far to come in this style of packaging. Let's get our little friend out, shall we? Ah, fudge. Look at that. We've got some instructions on how to run him on the side. And twist into powerful battle positions. Same instructions on the other side, and it came out really a lot easier than the side I went for. Sadly, they went with the plain blue background that we've seen them do quite often with some of their more deluxe things recently. I wish they would just go ahead and do like the busted rock type of thing, like they used to do with the Masterverse stuff. But we do have his little mini comic, so we'll take a look at that real quick. On the cover, we do see Sy-Klone going up against Lord Grasp. A group of the Masters followed a distress signal to the beautiful forest in the Valley of Power. He-Man, Man-E-Faces, comic book version. Teela, Man-at-Arms, Clampchamp, and Extendor. And the vapor slowly poisons them, and He-Man, of course, calls for help. Lord Grasp watches, and he uses their spirit, it would seem, to try to create an army to fight against themselves, I guess. Luckily, though, the sorceress was in contact with Sy-Klone. Sy-Klone, the heroic warriors are in mortal danger. I have no idea what that voice is supposed to be. So Sy-Klone jumps in the Talon Fighter. They really are using the Talon Fighter a lot recently. Maybe they want to get the overstock sold. But she tells Sy-Klone that he is the last hope for the heroes, and he has to rescue them before their lives are fully extinguished. So I'm thinking maybe the life force that he stole from and used the fog spirit to drain to create his evil duplicates will slowly kill them. Maybe make the duplicates permanent. And so Sy-Klone... Wait a minute. I'm actually kind of confused now because Okay, so Sy-Klone takes off using his wind powers. So was he in the Talon Fighter earlier, or was the Sorceress in the Talon Fighter earlier? I mean, technically, if the Eternia playset is out and about at this point, the Sorceress can go wherever she wants. But anyway, he uses his radar that shows the universe to find them on one planet. And Lord Grasp commands his duplicates to fight. But he's outsmarted, or he's outnumbered, not outsmarted. Apparently, I'm outsmarted, though. So he uses his powerful wind to try to snuff out the counterfeit heroes. But it's still too much for them. It's not working. So he flies up in the air like he's trying to flee the scene and starts to spin to create his more powerful tornado, a Category 5, which then apparently blows away all of the bad guys and leveled the entire area, freeing the Masters of the Universe. And the Fog Spirit thanks him for doing it because he is no longer under the control of Lord Grasp. And then they're trying to figure out where He-Man is, and He-Man's up in a tree in a very Prince Adam kind of a moment. So, that's cool. But seriously, okay, we go back to... Oh, okay. So we go back to like page 2 here, and it's the heroes were in the Talon Fighter, and then they were captured. That's what had me confused. I thought Sy-Klone was in the Talon Fighter. Me stupid. And the back of the comic just has the Masters of the Universe logo because there are no other figures in this wave, which is kind of a shame because actually this would have been a good opportunity to show some of the other deluxe figures that they're going to put out. You know, Sy-Klone could have been up here. Mossman could have been up there. We know that Extendor is coming out. He could have been on there too. I don't know if there's a fifth one that would go with it. So on the blue cardboard thingy, we do have his weapon thingy, accessory that we'll just get off there now so we can get it out of the way. And Sy-Klone here comes with, of course, his main body, a slapping hand, his shield, and additional hands to make his wind power look like it's going. This makes no sense to me. I just want to say it's kind of funny that his little wind hands here have a hinge on it, because I'm kind of wondering how practical that is going to be for moving on the figure, but we'll see that in a minute here. Set those aside. His shield is basically been designed like He-Man's shield or the standard shield designs, except for Teela with her stupid little square handle and no clip. But I think at this point everybody knows my issue with that. Like I said before, we do have his... This is actually from the 2000X series. It was his weapon. Don't remember how he used it as a weapon, but he did. Although this would have been really cool if it could have been split and like maybe attached to his arms and then had the handle. I don't know. But this will also hook onto his back. Well, let's take a look at the figure himself, shall we? So we're going to go over the articulation first. We'll take a look at his action gimmick. There's actually a bit of blue dye on his thigh here on my copy. I don't know if you can see that very well, but yeah, that's there. His head is on a ball joint, comes off. That's something else. I didn't see a thing showing what parts came off of him in this case. His arm can hinge upwards and downwards, and we can spin it around per normal Masters of the Universe Origins figures. He has a elbow hinge, do less than 90 degrees. His forearm is a new sculpt, and the rings here are sculpted into it. And his hand can spin and flex in and out. His other hand is a slapping hand, which this is what I was kind of saying doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The original version of Sy-Klone had two fists, not even a gripping hand, but two fists. So I'm kind of baffled as to why they didn't give us at least another gripping hand over here instead of giving us the. Because even if you want to look at it like putting the shield on him, you can. These shields are designed to work with the gripping hand too. So this just seems kind of stupid. So even without using his action feature, he can spin around. Although, okay, yeah. So even if we spin him, we can spin the dial. But in this current form, the action feature doesn't work with the dial. So we'll get to that again in a moment. He can kick up. He can kick back that far. His knee, that is a very, very tight joint. So we'll go to his other knee, and it bends less than 90, and we can spin it. This knee hinge I will have to heat up and work at because I do not want to risk breaking this figure like I did the Skeletor from the V-Friends. As mentioned before, he can hold his weapon like so. Flip it that way if we want. Because of the way the handle is designed, we could also just have him go like this if we want, but I think it looks better the other way. Because now you can't do that. It also hooks onto his back. Oops. So if we put it here like so, click it in there. It fits back there like that. Which actually is a cool look for him, I will say. I do like that. We can also, well, what we would have to do if we want to do it so it goes around his, looks like it's going around his waist, is actually move it. Like that. Although, actually, turn it backwards. So now we have gone ahead and sort of set it around this way to kind of recreate the scene that we saw on the back of the box earlier, where you can see that's around his waist there. However, there is a second spot you can put it on at the shoulder, so let's see how it looks when we do that. At least, which looks like, in this case, it looks like it's designed specifically to be worn this way now instead. So you got your options. Let's see, if we put it on here like this, we can put that tornado at his head instead. So while I was taking pictures and moving the weapon around on his different positions, the backpack popped off, which cool. So we do get to see that that is back there like that to hold it in place. However, just in taking the pictures alone, I have weakened the plastic. You can see the fatigue lines in there, I think, I hope. So that's not good. Not that I'm really planning on using that because that's the upper part. For when I display them, I'm going to have that in back here. But yeah, we're definitely seeing fatigue right away just from the popping the stuff on and off here at the top. So if you did get this one and you haven't got around to opening it yet, just be aware that that's a possibility on that top part. Now, for the part I'm sure you've all been waiting for. So as we saw in the box, you have to lift him partially out like this in order to activate his action feature, which is, of course, spinning. Man, that is a lot harder to do than I thought it would be. Again, we can put that in place and spin. The funny thing is, whenever you see him in the artwork, it looks like his legs are spinning and his head staying stable, you know? But with the original figure, he had the fist, and the idea was you were spinning his top and then you could punch people with it. Now, the rumor was that you were supposed to be able to take him apart, but it would appear that you cannot actually remove the torso from there. You can only do the click up and down to either have his action feature work or have it just be an actual figure. And his arms can still pop out, though. And his knees can come off. Knees can come off his boots. And as we mentioned before, we can take his hands off. That was a little embarrassing. Oh shit. There is an awful lot of like leftover plastic on here. Can you see that? That's kind of awful. Should probably take a utility knife, an X-Acto knife or something to that. Anyway. We can connect his little wind thingies. So we can have it look like he is blowing smoke up your butt. So, ooh, let's. You can get to work with those too. That's not too bad. I mean, I guess it makes sense that you could. I just thought maybe they'd be too heavy. So in the case of these things, they were on hinges, and you can move them a little bit, but the movement is hindered a bit by the actual wrist. So there is that problem. Oh, why not? That doesn't work too badly. Also, one of the features with this figure. Now let me get his hands back in place. Is of course the lenticular radar on his chest. I can see it moving. I'm not sure if it's being picked up by the camera or not. But yeah, it just kind of makes it look like there are like you know, lines going around as if a weather radar is scanning. Comparison wise, I do in fact have a vintage version of Sy-Klone here. And first off, the faces are not too bad of a match. Although I do recall them saying, or somebody saying that his face is actually He-Man's face from the original line, just with a helmet on. The face, or the head sculpt on here does look much better though. And the helmet looks like it is a separate piece from the rest of the head. So everything looks a little bit wider and more natural. This kind of looks weird, I guess. Although he is wearing a much brighter red than the previous versions. Uh, the yellow and the blues don't look too bad, but I don't know. They decided to go with a brighter reddish orange color rather than the kind of dark red the predecessor had. The lenticular sticker on the new one does appear to be smaller and take up less real estate on his chest than the previous one. Though their designs do appear to be the same, and the effect is pretty much the same. The only thing that I can see that seems different to me, and again, I don't know if this will pick up or not, but like on the vintage one, all you see is like the yellow scan lines showing up. But when you look at the Origins one, there's also a red one in there. So I hope those showed up. Of course, this Syclone you just kind of had to spin on his own, which is not easy to do because he's got really loose legs and there's barely anything to hold on to. But the whole with the original one, his arms moved up on their own. Shit. So when you do get him to spin, you see how his arms move. And actually, the spin is a lot easier on the vintage one once you get it going. But this is why the vintage one had fists on both sides. So I think they should have given us a gripping hand on both sides. I mean, if they're already giving us a deluxe packaging, why not? So, hopefully, if you wanted this figure, you were able to get him. It was interesting because, like other people, I received the figure before I ever received shipping confirmation on him. And I know a lot of people were talking about that recently. Because he wasn't supposed to ship. Actually, he was supposed to ship out today, I think, was the day he was supposed to ship out. Or the day I'm filming this. It'll be posted like Monday. Well, he's a good looking figure. These actually aren't too bad of effects to use if you're going to go do a nice posed scene. I'm not upset about that at all. He wasn't super expensive either when you get right down to it. And he has his action feature. I was kind of hoping though that you could still swap out the torsos with other figures, so we could have put like He-Man's body on top and spun him like crazy. This could also lead us to them creating a Strobo figure in the future as well, because that was one of the things that they've done with that torso in the past. The design, I think, was shown somewhere during the 80s originally, and I don't think it was in a mini comic, but I think it was in like one of the young adult, well, not young adult, the children's novels with all the pictures. And then Classics did, in fact, make the Strobo with the mirror on his front instead. So there's a possibility we have that in the future. And maybe that's part of the reason why this backpack is like this, is so that they can give us some equipment for Strobo. However, could note here too that the backpack is in fact a separate piece. So even if they do make a Strobo figure, they might not even have to have this backpack with him. So let me know in the comments what you think about this figure. Were you able to get him? Did you miss out? Is he not just really kind of a cool little cheesy action feature figure? I mean, seriously. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Peace and love.